All right, guys, we just got a short little thing to talk about before you guys begin your lab today. So here we go. Let's cruise or continue with fungus. So yesterday we talked a little bit about how they obtain their nutrients, different types of feeding they can have. And today we're going to talk really briefly about how they reproduce because that's going to tie into the lab that you are going to do, okay? All right, so we are on, I think, the back side of your notes, how fungus can reproduce. For number 1, under fungus reproduction, asexual, why don't you guys write down spores, okay? So spores are going to be a big one. All right, so what are spores? And write down what I underlined here. They're a reproductive structure that requires no fertilization, okay? What's cool about a spore is that literally it can grow into a new fungus without any fertilization whatsoever. So they're pretty versatile, I guess you can say. The other bit that I have up there is that it is definitely adapted for dispersal, and they can stick around for a very long period of time. So a spore could just be laying around until it actually has ideal conditions to grow into a new fungus, which those ideal conditions, again, are hot and humid. That's what they like, okay? So wintertime, you might have a lot of spores out there just hanging out, and then spring is when they start going again. They're very allergenic as well, okay? So this is just kind of an example of what some of those spores look like. All right, so we're still under spores. You don't necessarily have to write this down, but this is showing you again how they can grow hyphae. So basically here, germination's when they're going to start to grow. And then this is basically going to be the hyphae. So that can continue to grow into a new organism. Okay, now where we can produce spores, if you guys can put this down still by number 1, is that they're produced by the fruiting bodies. Okay, and just put that first part right there. So spores are produced by the food, or just produced by fruiting bodies. That could be it. And not every fungus is going to be the exact same. So the ones that we're going to see most often kind of look like these guys right here, these fruiting bodies. And where we're going to find those spores are right along here in those gills. Okay, that's what we refer to these guys are gills. They kind of look like gills of a fish. Okay, so they're going to be produced by fruiting bodies. Now, basically, how they get released is that whenever the fruiting body is about to die, okay, basically it's going to drop its spores, okay? So as it drops it, and you're going to see here in a second, is that we're going to have lots of different ways to get those spores from point A to point B. But these right here are actually spore prints, and you guys could do this at home if you ever have any mushrooms that are laying around, is you can literally just break off this top part, break off this stem or stalk, and lay it on a piece of paper, and it'll drop all of these spores, okay? And those are bajillions of spores basically right there, okay? So if you guys could, let's add by number 1 a thing that says spore dispersal, okay? Spore dispersal. All right, so we're going to talk about how those spores actually get moved around. You guys are about to hear my baby cry. Hold on, baby, don't cry. All right, so how is it that these spores can be dispersed? All right, the very first one is put down wind. Spores can be dispersed by wind, which is actually a pretty cool thing. All right, and this picture shows it perfectly here. It's that you got your fungus right here. They're mature, so therefore, whoosh, 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 those suckers are going to start moving around, okay? So they can be dispersed by wind, okay? The other thing that I want you guys to put down is that they can be dispersed by water or by animals, okay? Either way. So dispersed by wind, water, or animals, all right? Wind, water, or animals. All right, so let's watch just a quick video on how these things can be dispersed, okay?
Check this out. A low $18 a month, interest-free, buys you any of these great Sophia for...
Some of these genetic particles, in fact, are microscopic. The smallest of all belong to fungi. Fungi are not, to be accurate, plants at all. They belong to a kingdom all their own. But the particles they produce, called spores, are in many ways similar to seeds. A single puffball produces so many that someone has calculated that if, for 2 generations, every spore grew into an adult, the resultant mass of puffballs would be 800 times the volume of the Earth.
All that dusty stuff that you see there are actually spores.
Like the birdcage plant, a puffball can be carried along by the wind, but the real long-distance travelling is done by the spores that are knocked from it in clouds like smoke.
Yeah. All of that is spores. So crazy.
In autumn, other, smaller fungi appear on the woodland floor.
And this is going to get into the water.
Their appearance, just after they've emerged above ground, gives little hint of how complex they will become. As the damp autumn airs blow through the leafless woods, the earth stars begin to transform themselves.
Looks like something out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? We have those around here. They're called earth stars. They're really cool. All the spores are right in
They
here.
open at this time of year to take advantage of the falling rain.
Isn't that cool?
A drip gives them all the energy they need to propel their spores into the air.
So cool. Kind of creepy, isn't it? That's just so cool. So that's showing you the wind and the water, okay? All right, right here, I just have this one up here. I have animals just because this one cracks me up. You know, I don't know why. Dad, get it, Dad.
Are you ready?
I love the fact that it was on top of a car.
Oh, that's just nasty.
Get it, Papa. Let's smash this on top of my car. All right, there you go. So, you know, animals, humans doing weird stuff, or, you know, just animals eating them, okay? Thought that was kind of funny. All right, so let's go by number 2. They can reproduce by budding, okay? So number 2, simply just put down budding. All right, it's basically unicellular cells form new individuals that just grow from them, okay? So literally what they're doing here is that they're growing their baby from them. Now, budding's only going to take place in yeast. That's it. And yeast are unicellular examples of fungus, okay? So this is a normal yeast cell, and this is one that's actually undergoing budding right here. It's growing a new guy from it, all right? So it's unicellular cells that basically grow their offspring from them. What's cool is that these guys actually end up getting scarred from when they bud. So if you notice, this little guy is growing out from this guy. These little things that you see right there are actually scars from where they produced an offspring, which is interesting, okay? So these guys don't have very many scars. This guy has made lots of copies of himself. All right, so that is asexual. All right, my last and most favorite is actually going to be fragmentation. Love this one. Okay, so this is basically where if we were to break off a piece of the parent, and what we're talking about here is not the fruiting body, but the mycelium. Let's say that we were to break off a piece of that mycelium and throw it somewhere, that mycelium could actually grow into a new offspring. So kind of the example that I like to give here is, let's say that you remember that you hate mushrooms and you don't want them in your yard at all, which is crazy. So let's say that you remember by just kicking the fruiting bodies over, that's not doing anything. So you dig up the mycelium, you rip them up into pieces, and you throw them all throughout your yard, okay? Basically what you did right there is you quadrupled that population, all right, which is really kind of fun. All right, so fragmentation, they can grow into new guys, new organisms without any fertilization. It's a type of asexual reproduction, okay? Pretty fun, okay? So a piece of the parent is broken into fragments. Each pieces grow into a new organism, all right? Okay, so those are 3 types of asexual reproduction. Fungus can actually undergo sexual reproduction as well, okay? So how does that one work? All right, that one works by basically they're going to have specialized hyphae, okay? And it's not necessarily male or female. What they are actually plus and minus, which is kind of interesting. So they have specialized hyphae that actually grow and fuse with a different one, and that can grow a new mushroom, all right? So have specialized hyphae. Notice I have male and female in quotations that join. They're going to exchange gametes, which is the sperm and the egg, and grow into a new fruiting body, okay? So right here we have some hyphae hanging out over here. We got some hyphae hanging out over here. They come together and poof, make a new mushroom, Okay? Now, keep in mind again, the benefit of sexual reproduction is genetic variation because you're getting DNA from this guy and DNA from that guy. Okay? So you're getting it from two different people. While with asexual, it's basically an identical copy of the parent. Okay? All right, so that is your reproductive talk. You are going to get some spore questions on the lab that you guys are about to do. It's not very hard. Please make sure that you read the directions and don't make a great big huge mess, okay? I will talk to you guys later, okay? Hope all is well and see you soon.